Okay.
All right, so it's live now.
Hi.
Cool. Hello.
Is someone going to post the link to join? Or?
I'm happy to, but I don't know how to. And then maybe Aaron should. Do you have the relevant information?
Yep.
Can you
So
put it
just
on the chat so that we can all go to our relevant social media outlets and do our thing?
Yep.
It's not bad. Cool.
So
I might do the same.
Page.
We should do a music video of all of us just bobbing our heads, like put a soundtrack over it. Oh, that chat. I thought you were doing it through. That's funny. It doesn't matter. I thought you were gonna do it through the
I'm
Google.
going to chat.
I'm gonna put it here as well. Shh, shush, shush, shush.
Oh wow, that's weird. I had myself on the video. Okay, hang on.
All right, so we are officially live.
Yay!
So yeah, what did you want to? What were your plans for?
Who's sharing this in TGA?
I'm not. I'm going to tweet this.
I can put it in TGDA if you want, or
Yeah, do
someone
that.
else.
I
Everyone's fine.
think I already auto-tweet this. I think I set it up to auto-tweet that we're going live on Action Points because it's going through the Action Points YouTube account. Yep. So
Sorry, I'm now typing this.
learning a lot of new things today.
Yeah.
Should you just mute yourself, Wes?
Me?
Oh,
You seemed a little muted. You had a little mute symbol, but we're all good, I think.
Cool.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Take it away, Si.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, what has everyone been up to? Just to maybe before we go into anything super serious, we can just do a bit of a catch up on things. What have you
Alan,
been
why don't you
playing?
go first?
Me? I've been just playtesting like crazy. And I'm trying to do a tweet while I'm talking to you, so I can't actually see the video, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
We can see our reflections in your glasses, Si.
I can't see your reflection because you're not on my screen.
So someone else want to start, Alan?
All right,
So
cool. I'm back. I'm
Have you
back.
been playtesting inside?
Yep. Sorry. Yeah. So I have been playtesting crazy. I have 2 games that I'm sort of working on right now. One's near probably the tail end of its development, which is a little card game, which is just called the Hotel Game right now, which I think a few of you, I know Kim, you played a very, very early version of it, and Aaron's played pretty much every iteration of it, well, most of them. You haven't played the latest one, though, I don't think.
I don't think I've played any of your latest iterations.
Yeah,
Because
well,
they look quite different.
Yeah, it is. It's, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they've been working on this card game since basically January. I started it in January and just been developing it. I'm hoping to send it out to some blind playtesting people who have expressed interest in that, and I'm hoping to do that soon. I just have to write some rules and actually then send some stuff out. But I've got about 10 or so people who want to blind test for me, which is good. And then I have just started in the last couple of weeks working on a dice-based combat arena combat and betting gladiator-themed game. So, yeah, that's kind of new and been working on
Is
that.
that
And
is that something that you sort of decided to do, or is that because of sort of external
yeah,
reasons?
it's
Like,
so I run a fortnightly playtesting group down here,
Mhm.
and in that group is Ken Lee, who may join us 1 week, but not today. And he had brought along this concept for a game, which was this idea of this arena combat and betting game, but it was much more of a betting game. The combat was just what you were betting on, and in his version, his very early version, especially, you just had these people or whatever they are. They're just really just things coming onto the board, and you would have some control over them with playing cards a certain way, but most of the game was about betting on the outcomes and trying to hedge your bets as best you can and witch your opponents. And that's still sort of the direction. Anyway, we got talking about it over a couple of different playtest sessions, and I just got really excited by the theme. And so I just said to him, "Can I work on something using your idea?" And he was just like, "Yeah, go for it." And so we've been catching up. We've caught up the last 2 Sunday nights and just sort of gone over what we've been working on, as well as just chatting on Twitter and stuff in between. And so we're in a friendly competition now, working on basically the same premise, but approaching it really differently. So my game is each player is sort of I think it's called a Lannister or a Lannister, who are basically buying gladiators and then fighting with those gladiators to try and win glory and money. But money doesn't actually give you points; it's just a way to get stuff in the game. So you're controlling one fighter at a time and betting on different outcomes in the game and stuff like that. Whereas his one is still very much more focused on these sort of nameless fighters that just kind of come in, and and it's just a lot of them getting thrown in, and you're just trying to bet on different outcomes, and you're able to influence the game with cards. So we've approached it very differently, but it's from the same kind of kernel of an idea that he had, which I thought was really interesting. So for me, the biggest attraction though is that it's a style of gameplay, that a game design that I haven't done before. So it's dice, it's miniatures, it's betting, it's just stuff like most of my stuff has not been in those sort of areas before. So I've just found it really exciting, just because it's something different, and watching players, how they respond to stuff, and even the psychology of like dice rolls. So we had Incubator on Saturday, and one of the groups there identified something where I'd been trying a thing where I'd had originally I had 5s and 6s when you rolled with hits. So if you're trying to fight with an opponent, you'd roll the dice, and if you got a 5 or a 6, you got to hit through, right? Pretty basic stuff. But when I came to getting some components, the only dice I could find that actually had a special kind of symbol on them were ones from I can't remember which one, but one of the kind of miniatures games. And so our D6s were just 1 to 6, but the 6 was like a big punching fist symbol thing. And so I only had the one symbol on it. And so I just said to the groups, just roll the dice. You get one free reroll. Like, you can roll your dice and you can roll it again, just to sort of give them the same opportunity to basically get, 2 chances. And it was funny talking to the groups. We sort of found out that hi Jason. We sort of found out that people, generally speaking, prefer to re-roll dice rather than roll once and get a result. So yeah, it was just kind of just learning a bit more about how the dice interaction, just the physical nature of rolling the dice was important. So yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But it's exciting for me right now.
okay, I'm guessing somebody has to be the moderator here to try and direct people to talk. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll probably do that, because that way I won't talk about myself all the time.
We should probably introduce ourselves as well.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right, well, I'm Sai, and I make games in my spare time, and I am a graphic designer in my full time. Alan, do you want to go next?
Sure. Alan, do creative stuff for a company called Reel and Make, which makes games.
Nice. Jason, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I just walked in. I'm Jason. I'm a game designer
Random
and a
guy.
graphic designer sometime. Occasionally I've tried to publish things as well.
Nice. Kim?
I'm Kim, and I'm a game designer. I just released that thing. Fun. And I'm director of Good Games Publishing now, so I've kind of got a job full-time doing game design and publishing and development.
Full-time now, Kim.
Full-time, yeah, very fun.
Oh.
Wow, that's awesome. Aaron?
Yeah, I am a game designer. Most of the stuff that I've kind of finished have been game jam stuff. And I also do a podcast called the Action Points Podcast, and I do another one with Kim and Sai called Victory Pointers as well. And that one is focused on board game, tabletop game design, with a focus on trying to highlight board game design happening in unusual places. Not to say unusual places, but like in the less well covered places, like here in Australia or well, basically anything that's not the US or Europe, kind of. Because those are like the big hotspots of board game design activity. But there's a lot of interesting stuff happening outside as well. I'm originally from Malaysia, and last December it was really great to go back to Malaysia and see that there's a very vibrant board game design scene there, and they are doing a board game convention this weekend that has a bunch of booths and tables for board game designers to playtest and demo their games. So that's pretty cool. They're being supported a lot by like the local universities. KDU is the main one. College Damansara Utama, I think that's what it stands for. But KDU does a lot of game dev stuff in the digital space as well, and they've been really good about supporting tabletop game design as well. So I think they are the venue. I think they're doing the convention there at KDU, and yeah, it's really cool to see that happening elsewhere.
Nice. And finally, Wes.
Yeah, so I'm basically full-time game designer now. I'm just working on board game, my only thing. I get the odd contract for other random things in between. I'm working on the next game to take to Kickstarter shortly. It's going to be May, but the odds of me getting it done for May are pretty slim. That's Rogue Blitz, which is kind of 942's style board game, which I'm really looking forward to because I really want to play it myself.
So you're full-time as well? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been full-time for a couple of years. It's not a wise financial decision, let's put it that way, but yeah, this is what I do. As I slowly go broke, I think I've been broke, twice now, and living by the skin of my teeth. Yeah.
Cool, nice. And how's Cogs gone?
Pretty good. I mean, the feedback's always been fantastic. I keep getting people in places. I went to a festival down south, and people actually took it there to give to other people because it was a basic gifting festival. But it was funny. So I was walking down this festival, and there's people playing Cogs, and my fiance goes, "Oh, you should probably go over there." So I wanted up playing Cogs in a tent in the middle of nowhere, and Sarah's going, "Oh, this guy made it." And they're like, "What?" "Yeah, this guy made it." And so I sat down and played Cogs at Blazing Swan down south. It was kind of bizarre. It'll be a surreal moment for me and for them, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been going well. Financially not amazing, but I mean, one board game, it's pretty hard to live off one board game.
Yep.
But, you know.
Yeah, I should mention as well, Sai and myself were in Melbourne. Kim,
Hey, I was
you're in
about
Sydney.
to do that. You thought you read my mind. I was just about to tell everyone. You keep going. You do it.
And Wes,
We need
you're
a
in WA, and Alan and Jason, you're both in Queensland somewhere.
Brisbane. Which on Monday, Jason took me out to an Indian restaurant, so that was nice.
Ooh, schmoozing.
Alan says he's in Brisbane, he's in Gold Coast. We should keep that clear.
Yeah, I
until he
know. I
actually
was going
moves
to
on.
say, Alan, what are you doing? You're lying through your teeth.
Yeah.
We're in Southeast Queensland.
Awesome. So I might just. Does anyone have anything that they really want to talk about? A game or a project or something that's happened recently, or something you've played?
I wouldn't mind hearing
about
from
this.
everyone.
Let's do live unboxing of this game.
Ooh.
What's this game?
Live unboxing.
Is it called this game? Oh,
Like,
I think
no?
I recognize that package.
Yes.
I had a
I
dream
already
about
saw it.
opening
Oh,
this. I told people.
oh, oh, we've all got
Alan.
this. That's amazing.
How many bags were in that?
1, 2.
Two.
The
Okay.
great bag controversy.
I had two as well, Kim, just so you know.
Yeah, I got
already said.
double bags.
I had 2
as
bags
well.
too.
Oh man,
So it
is
looks
is
like-
it banged up at all, or is it okay?
There is a slight, but it's not really anything to be concerned about. There's an indentation in here, so you can see that the box is sort of crushed down a little bit, but I don't think it's even enough to be able to tell. I don't think you can tell. Can you see
Yeah.
that?
Video.
A little bit of a thing, not much.
It's a curve, but yeah, there's no real visible thing. Oh, I can see on the box here it's a little tiny bit crushed, but again, it's not really anything that's concerning.
Yeah.
Um,
Mine had a small ding, like a compression on one of the corners,
Yeah.
but it wasn't noticeable.
so, Kim, you didn't opt for the corner protectors or corner stuff that
No,
the SFC
this is
did?
just assuming people don't know what's going on here. So we're using a global fulfillment service called Send from China, and Send from China are the cheapest way to get a game out from China that you make in China to everywhere in the world at one standard sort of price. You know, it varies maybe up to $1 from country to country. Probably, you know, the biggest problem that people have had with them is inconsistent packaging and stuff like that. So I went to great lengths to tell these guys that I wanted them to use a long sheet of bubble wrap, which is, you know, they say on their website they have, and I actually wrote up a document with pictures of how I wanted it bubble wrapped. I got a sheet of bubble wrap exactly the same size and wrapped it around and showed them exactly how I wanted it packaged and sent that to them, and I had my account manager there translate it into Chinese and give that to the guys in the warehouse. But the guys on the warehouse floor ran out of bubble wrap for about 200 copies and then just didn't tell anybody and thought, oh, I'll just put it in 2 bags. And so it sounds like you guys have got a batch of the double bagged ones. So they kind of went against my instructions, but they just didn't communicate internally. And so, you know, this is a bit of a test. I think Alan and Wes have both used Send from China before, so you know that you'd have some experience of what it's like dealing with these guys. So, you know, I'm trying to be pretty nice about it. They did most of the stuff I asked for. It's just, you know, there was a breakdown in communications, and I had to get a bit wrathful with them. But in the end, it was all good. Just a few more things like that. The tiny little dings are happening, I suppose, because when you wrap a big bubble wrap sheet around something 2 or 3 times, that's going to protect it from those small dings. You'd have to step on it or something to really bang the box up that way.
So you said you had to get a bit wrathful. Does that mean you had to throw a Cyclops at them or a Hydra or something?
No, I chose the Hydra. Yeah, it's my preferred attack monster.
Fair enough.
Went there with a big piece of plywood and like, oh.
It is interesting though, because I've been spruiking it for a long time, and now I finally get to test it, and I'll do a big write-up of my experience and try and make sure that if people are going to use it themselves, I'm giving them all the tips I can possibly think of to make them have a better experience.
So, was I correct?
That's a really good
I
idea.
mentioned this on Facebook comments that we're the only ones that's using Send from China's warehousing solution.
No, what do you mean? We're the only ones?
Well, not the only ones, but so far we haven't found anybody else that, because Send from China actually has two services. One is you have everything pre-packed and then uses their sort of rates to do the fulfillment. The other one is actually provides you with a whole set of interface that's in the Dongguan area. I think there's 2 of them, right? One that's closer to Shenzhen and one closer to Dongguan. And the other one has like an actual warehousing solution with pick and packing, and they charge by the pallets, and their rates are different in either of the 2.
They're slightly different.
Right.
Yeah, my understanding is the Shenzhen one is just for internal stuff. And the Dongguan one is what most of us seem to be using. I think the interface and the way you deal with both is the same, is my understanding. I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, no. Well, I wouldn't. You probably would know more than I do because Alistair's the one that does all the logistics. But there was an option for us to essentially ship all our stuff over to one of the other warehouses, and there were options that we could choose to which has a different set of rates basically. And we sort of opted to use to get the stuff in the warehouse and use it in that way. But
I'm pretty sure that both have warehouses,
Right.
but maybe what's happening is when you're sending something out, you can choose, up to maybe half a dozen to a dozen different ways to send it out to any particular country. You have different rates, so you can go the slowest way. You choose a way that has tracking. You can choose a way that has volumetric costings or not, and all sorts of stuff like that. So
right. So you guys are actually got sort of pallets of games that's held in San Francisco. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so we shipped 1,300 games there and sent it from there. They used to also have an American office and a German office, but I found out the day before I was going to send it to Germany that they were closing their German office. Fun.
And the American one.
So my EU-friendly and the American one too, yeah.
With that Shenzhen Guangdong thing as well, Shenzhen I understand is full. They both have warehouses, they both have fulfillment, but Shenzhen's basically full. So if you send a game in now, that print's going to go. It's off to, I think it's Guangdong is where they're doing most of the new warehousing stuff now. The price should be identical. That's what I've been told, and that's what comes out to me from either of them is identical. I don't know about this other.
They have slightly different services available from each warehouse system, but they're really different carriers that they send it through. So some might have one; they're able to use one carrier, and others are not able to use that one. They'll use an alternative, and there'll be, 20 cents difference in the send rate or something like that. It's quite trivial differences. There's much bigger differences between the country send rates than there are between the low cheap options.
Yeah. Did you also? I don't want to turn this into basically fulfillment, the podcast. But did you also got like these? What is it? The non-advertised rates that you had to enable. You call up the customer service rep, and then they've got additional ones they can turn on through the back end.
Let's see.
Well, again, this is kind of second-hand information because Alistair does all that work. But he mentioned that you had to call up, and there were 3 additional rates that wasn't actually on the carrier selections that was turned on for us.
Yeah, I just work very closely with my account manager, and whenever I've got any questions around which option is best to send to a particular country, sometimes the cheaper one is not kind of listed, but I haven't found that very often, to be honest. It's just more like, I don't think that's intentional. I just feel like they hadn't updated their system. is the more likely scenario there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Maybe we'll move on from fulfillment.
Yes.
For now.
Sure.
All right, Jason, what you been up to? Aside from drinking.
Drinking.
In terms of what?
In terms of games.
I just sort of took a sip of water and I'm drinking a little bit of mead. And yes, what's going on in terms of games for me at the moment? I'm working on a couple of things. Ragnarol has kind of been a while. I've been working on things with another designer who is working with some things for Rule and Make as well. So we've got like a little game that we meet up once a week in Brisbane. So I've been doing some collab stuff as well as some solo stuff. I'm working on I'm currently calling a deck deconstruction game, but on the current iteration it may no longer be that because that wasn't the fun bit.
Okay.
As well as a couple of other things.
So when you say deck
nothing really concrete that's fun to talk about at the moment.
When you say deck deconstruction.
When I say deck deconstruction.
It makes me think of those like cooking shows and stuff with the deconstructed meals, and so it's like you're doing a really sort of wanky version of a deck building game.
Yeah, kind of kind of like a wanky version of a deck building game because if you think about a deck building game, essentially what you do is that you start with a small deck, and so throughout the course of the game, your deck becomes more unwieldy, and what you're kind of dealing with is like you're dealing with your past self making decisions, and then you kind of just play out the best version of those decisions. And when I play deck building games, that's the bit that I like the least. I like the least that I feel that my past self has made decisions, and now I'm just kind of dealing with his bullshit, which is what I generally deal with in life as well. My past self makes decisions, and then I have to deal with it and make the best I can kind of dealing with his bullshit.
Wouldn't that describe most games though, where you
So
are
what
having
I'm trying to do with this one.
Oh, sorry.
Well, no, to a degree, yes. Like, but it's just more so with deck building games because you're dealing with the thing essentially that you've built, whereas with maybe a more board presence game, you're not like dealing with random encounter deck that you've built. You're dealing with what you've got, and then you can push out from there. So yeah, what I'm trying to do at the moment is like, you go the other way, that you start with a more random deck just along the way where you're like, okay, this is the thing that I want, this is the thing that I want, this is the thing that I want. And so you build a more static engine that is more personalized.
Okay. I look forward to seeing it.
There is a deck deconstruction game that I think was on Kickstarter last year. Does anyone know the name of that one?
Xenon Profiteer?
Yeah, that's the one. And is that good? Have you played that?
Yeah. I don't know. I keep on asking Alan if he's played it, and he says he hasn't yet. It's definitely not a new idea. Like, it's definitely a thing that people are playing with. And I'm just one of the people that are playing with it. Ooh, there you go. TC Petty IIIs. Xenon Profiteer. Yeah, it's definitely a thing that other people play as well.
Mm.
But yeah, with my current iteration, because I tend to go like, big iteration, is it fun? Big iteration, is it fun? Apparently it's not fun, so I'm not sure we're going to actually keep the deck construction element. We'll see how we go.
And we've just
that's
been
my
joined
big
by...
project. Back to you, Si.
Thank you. Man, this lag is a killer. So yeah, we've just been joined by Davey. Hi, Davey.
Can you hear us, Davey?
Yeah, can you have sound? Oh, we can hear you. Okay, technical difficulties.
You can hear him tapping his microphone.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear that. Maybe.
Should we skip along?
Yeah. All right. So, who haven't we? So, Kim. Anything? So you talked about Monstrous Fulfillment. What other games are in the works for Good Games Publishing that you can talk about?
We've got a game called Unfair, which is a theme park building game which you've played, Si, and Aaron's played, I think, and that's a very, very fun game that we're very excited about. It's a good, big, broad, open theme that's very, very approachable, and it's a bit of a tableau builder where you build up some theme park type rides that it's all very advanced, and it kind of looks a bit like this. You get rides that you build up and you stack extra bits and pieces on them. So you make long, tall rides like that. And so you're basically building 5 of these rides up throughout the game. There's a few special powers and obviously a bit of a points, not quite point salad, but quite a few different ways to score victory points throughout the game. So that's something we're working on. It's very, very advanced state of being, and we're just waiting for art to wrap up in about May, and then we're looking at a sort of a late May or June Kickstarter for that. That's very, very exciting. I'm working on the expansion for Monstrous as well, which is Release the Kraken, which I promised to give to backers. That's the full art version. The basic version of the game and the Kickstarter version came with a kind of open source art version of the expansion, but this is going to be the full art one as well. So we've got those 2 things immediately, and then we've got another 3 games in the works as well. So we're working on a bunch of stuff concurrently, which is quite fun. One of the big challenges we're finding now is trying to get enough playtesting in. Yeah, so I don't know about how you guys go for playtesting. I know you've all got various local groups that you try playtesting with, but yeah, it always feels like you'd never playtest enough. Don't know if you
How
guys have
often?
that feel.
How often do you playtest at Good Games Publishing, and then later after this, I guess for Alan as well at Rule and Make? And who do you playtest with?
We have an internal group that meets about once a week. We don't always get to meet, but about once a week, where we go through changes and iterations to the games. And then I usually have a couple of other groups that I get 1 or 2 sessions within that week as well, outside our core group. So I get to test things out and just observe what's happening, where people that aren't so close to the development process get to play it as well. So we get sort of 2 to 5 plays of a game throughout the week, and we've started using Tabletop Simulator as well to try and get some more players in at odd times, so that we don't have to be together, and that allows us to play with game designers as well, and just really as if we're in the same space. But I'm also going to look at actually going to meet some of our designers and just spend intensive sort of day-long sessions with them as well. So I'll probably be coming down to Melbourne in maybe 3 weeks or so, and working on some of the games we're working on there. And so we're just trying to mix it up and make sure that we get enough engagement, enough playtesting. I think, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but when you're working with somebody else in a development sense, trying to resolve game development issues by email is really time consuming, and it's prone to misinterpretations of what people meant by something or what have you. So we're trying to get more face-to-face or direct time with people now.
Quick question about your playtesters. Is it always the same group of people you're playtesting with, or do you mix it up?
We have a core group who have probably played the game the most, but then I like to just also playtest with other people that I know that are willing to try, and they're always interested in the new games that we have. And when I playtest with those guys, it's kind of different. It's more like, here's the game in its current state, and I'm going to play with these guys. Sometimes I'll play, sometimes I won't, and I'm observing the things that we're looking at. I mean, there are some things around in the game that we know work, and there are some things that we have slight question marks over, and between each iteration we might be changing 1 thing or 2 things, and then I'm observing how that thing gels with the totally new people to the game. But I'm about to start trying to reach out to some of the Sydney board game groups. So there's a couple of very active and large board game groups that meet to play socially, and I play tested some of my other games with them in the lead up to Monstrous and that kind of stuff, and they're quite happy to take a reasonably well advanced game that looks and feels like a real thing and give that a try, and Unfair's at that stage now. So I'm about to sort of do that with some groups of people. Some of them are like game breakers. Do you guys know any like game breakers? People will intentionally try and absolutely smash your game and break it every way possible. They're golden testers.
Yeah.
I love that because you.
Yeah, they're the best. I don't think you've met him, but on the Action Points podcast, one of my co-hosts, Adam, his brother is the worst. We played Spyfall, I think, and he found like so many little corner cases and like strategies that it was like kind of against the spirit of the game. Like, just show me in the rules where you can't do that. It's very good for like finding exploits.
Nice.
Those kind of people.
Spyfall is very social. Like that's a game where you can be as obscure and as vague and as dickish as you like. If you really want to play, and you can play against the spirit of the game. You can play against the spirit of most social games.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we didn't even think of trying to mess with it. And
play resistance.
The first time I taught it to him, he was like, "All right, let's try to break this." Yeah.
Cool. All right, Alan.
I was just going to say.
Oh, there you go.
I was just going to say, in the terms of social games, like, I know when I go to conventions and I play Resistance, it seems there's always someone who just plays the game completely randomly and refuses to talk to anyone. Which is just really, really weird. It's just there's always going to be one person who tries to break the spirit of the game occasionally. Spyfall stands up to it. Like, if you break, I'm sure Adam's fine. Adam's friend is fine. Adam's brother.
Adam's brother.
Well, it is interesting. Like, I think some of us have we'll play with a lot of different people, but I do expect that probably 80% of gamers just play with their regular game group, and they've probably got a fairly solid social set of rules that they play by, and people are usually going to be okay with that because they're used to them. And there's probably some variance within those boundaries, but I think most games that get played are probably played in that circle, and obviously games played in public spaces are increasing over the years, but you'd have to imagine that most games are played with people, with game groups and stuff like that you just play with on a weekly basis. Are you guys like that as well, or do you think that's true? I've always assumed it's true, but maybe I'm totally wrong.
How big a group are you talking?
Well, we've got 7 in our group, and so we always play on Thursday nights, and we'll always get a turn up of 4 to 6 players across 7.
So I'm quite far from the city or a regular meetup, so we do it once a month. We have anywhere between 10 and about 25 people. But the good thing is we've got a whole bunch of different gamers as well. So there's one guy that I know thinks just like me, so we can always play games, and we always find the same things in games. I've got 2 people that are like what you were talking, game breakers. They'll just go in and they'll try and break the game right off the bat. But we've got a lot of other people as well, like testing some of my stuff. I found things I hadn't realized in certain games, just because there are so many different people with different strategies and different ways of playing. So we're quite lucky in a way that we have a few different things like that,
And just so for everyone, because Dave, you missed out earlier. Dave, can you just introduce yourself to the video feed to our potential viewers?
Hi guys, I'm Dave. I review games at Another Dungeon and do how to play videos. And
that's anotherdungeon.com, not just another dungeon, just some dungeon somewhere randomly.
Just another dungeon. Hey, there are many dungeons. I only told you about one site. Anotherdungeon.com. So it's a video and tabletop review site. We do both, but I tend to focus on the more tabletop-y stuff. I used to develop video games in my spare time, now moving into developing tabletop games in my spare time. Lots of developing, lots of going, yeah, this isn't good enough, and lots of going back and starting again.
Hey, but at least you didn't, so give some context. I played a game 2 weeks ago of Dave's, the prototype, and after that playtest he sends a message like, I'm scrapping the game, it's gone, I'm just not going to work on it again. And then just this week he's like, okay, I've been thinking about it, and I think I've got these. I'm going to change this, and this, and I'm going to do this. And I was like, yes, don't give up. It's good.
Well, no, but that was important though, because so the problem was I'd given the game a name, and I had in my head what I wanted it to be, but the game wasn't fun, and I sort of
just
found
a small
myself.
Problem.
Well, yeah, I didn't think it was particularly fun. I didn't know how to make it fun. And I tried for a while, and I'm like, no, the concept is good, but I can't see a way to make it, those games. Those games you just pick up and you play, and you're like, that's a really good game. Or, for the shorter ones, you go, yeah, that's awesome. Let's play it again straight away. I didn't get that feeling from the game, and I'm like, yeah, try a different idea.
This is an interesting topic, because we also had a discussion about this a little while, like a couple of days ago. This is with me and Alistair, about the idea that the reason why you need to get playtesters involved is because as designers or as creators, you're analyzing the game as well as trying to judge whether or not the game is fun. So a lot of the times, how do you when you're analyzing a game, it's difficult for you to also be sort of objective about whether or not this thing is fun or not. So how do you then know internally, like, is it not fun? Is it not fun because it's not fun, or is it not fun because you are sort of thinking about the game, there are areas that need to be improved and that's broken, and like, how do you sort of differentiate between that for yourself?
I guess for me, I'd take off because I review tabletop games as well, I can sort of play it and look at it objectively as if it wasn't my game.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at it like that, and then I go back and I think, right, well, how do I fix that? I like that mechanic. I don't like that mechanic. You know
See,
what I mean?
I can't do that. I can't just take off my whatever judging, critiquing hat and play it. I just
Really?
Yeah, I find I very much am more trusting my playtesters or watching them to pick up the cues about, where are they stumbling and where is those moments of excitement happening, and if that's what I'm going for, but I don't really like. I have it happen with me, but I think it's more with me. I get excited when it's like, oh yes, that mechanic that I hoped would work actually worked. Like this thing does the thing I wanted it to. Doesn't mean the game's actually fun. It's just the problem seems to be working or solved, and that's where I get excited. But that's totally different from actually just playing the game. So yeah, I find it difficult. So that's why I playtest a lot and with different people, because I know I need that feedback from them to judge.
So coming back to that, Alan, do you guys do regular playtesting? Is it or do you mainly playtest just yourself and Alistair?
Probably about 70% of the game would be playtested internally before we show it to anyone. And whenever we do actually bring it to a public sort of venue, it has to look quite attractive. And I think that's just partially to try and make sure that the playtesters and generally the playtester that we sort of engage with, they're not professional designers or they don't do playtests a lot. They just play a lot of games. So trying to provide them with a very sort of prototypey looking game makes it difficult for them to wrap their heads around. So I've got a lot of things I can talk about on that side of things, but generally, up to about 80% of the game progress is done all internally. But when I say internally, that's between Alistair, myself, and a few other designers that we sort of engage with internally before we sort of go to our playtesting groups and whatnot.
And how do you determine when is the time to take it outside?
So every game that we make, I'll sort of qualify something that Aaron had said about sort of rule of eight games, and that's a really good way to sort of qualify sort of when something's ready. It's kind of like a mechanics or core mechanic driven kind of game developer, or at least the games that we design internally. So even at the very start of the game design, we've got a very specific kind of system or a mechanic that we're trying to explore. So when we feel like that mechanic has sort of gone to a place where we feel like it's doing the thing that it needs to do, and we're sort of representing that mechanic very well, that's when we take it to the playtesters from that point.
Sorry, how about yourself, Wes? Because I think you're the only other full-time game designer aside from Kim.
Yeah, I have
I know, Alan, you're still doing it part-time?
My day job I get paid a lot for my day job. So it's hard to say no to that. Yeah.
Damn you. I have a group of playtesters that I organise weekly. So we do a game foundry every week. There's probably like 4 to 8 of us get together. There's probably 4 game designers in that crowd. So we test fairly regularly, same people. Outside of that, the WA Board Game Association, I try to play at probably once a month. And there's also other playtesting groups in Perth, which I try to play at probably once a month as well. So I probably get 6 times a month I playtest. And generally, I suppose I want to always make everything better. So I just permanently make it better, make it better, make it better, but that's all I kind of do. So it's like, even if people like it, I'm like, no, I'm not happy with it. I want to see this working better, and so I just work out what could be better, what could be improved, go back to mechanics, go to art, scrap bits, redo bits. So it's kind of the constant iteration forward, I find, is what I generally do.
I've got a question for everyone, which is related to this. Is when you can't get to play testers, in between iterations, or you've made a new iteration of your game, do you solo play? And if you do, how does that work for you? And we'll start maybe with Jason.
Can you repeat the question?
Yep. Do you? So when you before.
We should put our hands up or something.
Yeah. Okay, the question in simple form is, if you can't play your game with other people, like you can't get out to a playtest group, do you solo play? So do you play the game by yourself to nut out problems and figure out stuff, or do you exclusively playtest with other people? Jason.
I do solo playtests. I do it a little less often now that I actually have a regular weekly group. But I'll always put it on the table in front of me, and I will roll through things and pretend I'm different people, and at least see if I think there's a basic idea that works. I'm generally glad that I did that, because I think I act as half a sanity test. If I think maybe it's my own bias, then maybe it's okay to show to other people. There's lots of things that I've oh, this is a great idea, and it's never made it off my table because it was terrible. I find it's a little bit harder as you get deeper into a project. I spent a lot of hours on it to try and find that fun again. So at that point, it's a lot of external playtesting makes a little bit more sense. So I try and solo early, and Wes.
Sorry, I was going to let you finish. I used to solo play before, but now I'm doing weekly play tests. I find I'm usually trying to hash out the next prototype by the time the test comes around. So generally I'm kind of invariably I go to tests with my game smelling of glue. I've done that for the last few weeks. And then we play the latest version, while I'm there. So I used to solo play test, and I thoroughly recommend people do it. But I find weekly playtest is enough for me to be working on the next one, so I actually don't end up solo playtesting. I work that in my head, and that doesn't always work, which probably people here may have experienced, I'd imagine.
Jason?
Wes, how many games do you have going on at the same time? Do you tend just to kind of focus down on one project, or do you have multiple streams?
I try to focus on one, but I do Global Game Jam. I end up making a game, then we showed it off to we had to finish it and show off to another playtesting group. So I ended up spending probably maybe a month just trying to refine that. Maybe not a month, maybe a couple of weeks. But generally, I focus on one. Admittedly, I've probably got 4 or 5 games on the go at the moment, but in various stages. Predator Rogue Blitz is it at the moment. I'm putting 95% of my time just on that game because that's the next one I want to get out, and I know I have faith in how it's developing at the moment.
Kim?
Yeah, I certainly did a lot of. It's very easy with Monstrous to playtest a few different things. One of the approaches I adopted a little bit there, and I think I want to do more of, is coming up with personas for different types of players. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that sort of UX, user experience design, where they'll make personas up for different types of people who might engage with a product of some kind, and you can come up with sort of, ways of predicting how they want to engage with that thing and what their motivations are and all that kind of stuff and how they'll play. So, I tried to do that a little bit, saying, okay, this is the system builder person, this is the aggro person, and try and find how players might engage with the game in that way. But that's when you want to try and feel like, if you're testing to see whether both of those, multiplayer solitaire plus a little bit of take that can work in the same game, you might want to do that. But in other games where it's all take that, you probably don't need that much. You've always got a best choice with how to play. So trying to do that a little bit, but I don't get to really need to do that much. Like Wes, I think we have enough playtesting sessions, just enough that I can just wait till the next one's on. And when there's downtime, I tend to dive deeper into a problem and try and think about it and nut out some ideas and spend more time on coming up with solutions.
Aaron,
Sorry.
do you solo play test anything but by yourself or?
Yeah. I do a lot of solo. Well, not a lot. I tend to do solo playtests, like I say, early stage before design has been nutted out. You do a bit of solo playtesting. Recently, I haven't been doing a lot of playtesting at all. I've been playtesting a lot of other people's games, so yeah, I haven't really been doing much on my own stuff. And yeah, but when I do have the time, sometimes I'll just lay out all the pieces on the table and move stuff around as I'm trying to work out how I want things to work. Yeah.
Yeah, Davey.
Sorry, that wasn't me saying I wanted to speak. I was swatting a mosquito.
I was also doing that because of the Persona thing.
Yeah.
Hey.
The Persona 4 with the gun thing and the video
Yeah,
games.
video game reference.
I gave up on Persona series a long time ago. I got 4 kids. I don't have time for a Persona game anymore. Look, as I said, like I designed stuff back when I was at school, and then I gave that up to work in IT because it would make more money. And I've only recently started getting back into the whole design thing. But I'm lucky in a way. So my kids are 2, 5, 7, and 9. So a lot of the games I make, I'm trying to make them suitable for mainly the 7 and 9. So I've got 2 testers that live with me. My wife also plays
your own
games.
playtesters.
Sorry? Yeah, I make my own playtesters. My wife also plays games, and one of my good mates moved in over the road from me, and he's got 2 kids that are 12 and 9 as well. So I'm sort of lucky. The only thing I find is that, like with Monsters Die, that other game, I do get a bit of fatigue. So if I went to them with every iteration of the game, they'd sort of get to the point of, do we have to play this again? Can we play something, something different? At which point, yeah, I'd go to stuff like, Incubator and Your Things on Thursday night, so all that sort of stuff. That's where I'm sort of looking to move into that sort of thing instead. Because regular testers are good, but finding someone who'll regularly test the same thing with minor differences, yeah.
That's hard, isn't it?
You just got to hang around with me more, Davey, because then you get used to making drastic changes every iteration.
Well, your game, I suppose this is directed at Alan as well. Did I hear from Rule and Make?
Yeah, Alan's it, yep.
Yeah. Well, this is both your fault that Monsters Die took such a big change in the first place, because I played Robots and Rockets. I was like, that's how I want to feel when I play my game.
No, that's cool. Alan, so you play test with Alistair, you said. Do you ever just play test by yourself, or do you not need to?
I solo many things, but play test is not one.
Fair enough. Okay, so...
I solo raids all the time because I don't have friends.
Yeah, that's right. Cool. So probably we'll just maybe do one more topic, and then we'll kind of.
I should say while we're talking about playtesting is that I do organize prototype share through TGDA, which is on the TGA Facebook. We're mainly thinking it is at the point where like you actually have rules and everything that you want to share. But it is like it's reciprocal playtesting. So we've had a few things that have gone through there, and if anything is at a stage where you're like, okay, I really need a blind playtest group, and I'm struggling to find some, definitely hit up there, and you playtest my game, I'll playtest yours, and it all works out.
Yep. No, that's cool. That's really awesome.
How's that working?
It's working out okay. Like last month we didn't really have any. It's just kind of we've had a few playtesters that are like, okay, like whenever you've got something, let me know. there hasn't been so much stuff coming through. Like I know myself that I've been focusing on really new projects, so I haven't actually put anything through it for the past 3 months either.
Yeah.
You guys do print and plays as part of the prototype share, or is it all just purely send around a box thing? I couldn't remember what you ended up planning, Jason.
It really is based on you and your playtester. We've mainly been sending boxes because it kind of makes sense that, like, okay, you're probably got your stuff all ready to go. You send me a box, I'll send you a box. It makes sense. And
I'd love
really,
to do it
if
as
you were
Rogue.
going to be a professional publisher... sorry, I kind of missed that, Wes.
So I'd love to do it with Rogue, but Rogue is immense, like cutting out, like the boss would take me half a day type thing. So it's not the type of thing I can just make a copy and send it around. That's that market for that. I'd really love to, but it's kind of a bit out of the ballpark of doing.
I definitely understand, but for me it's also a thing like, if you want to be a professional game designer and you're like, oh no, I can't spend $20 for shipping around Australia, then you really need to have a look at your figures and your priorities. Like, it should be a thing that you're okay to do. Don't do it for everyone. Only do it for people that you know you're going to send it back to. Yeah, it definitely is. Like, I know for Ragnarok that I did like a fair amount of blind playtesting, but I kind of corralled around the internet, etc., and I didn't have like a really good response rate. So, like, even though I sent off maybe 5 to 10 prototypes, maybe only 1 in 5 really got me back with like some good, decent feedback. So what I'm really trying to do with this prototype share is make sure, like, okay, you are a designer, so you are actually going to give good feedback because you want good feedback back. Sorry.
So yeah, on this topic, I can't remember who was telling me, and I don't know if Aaron was around or not, but some people were telling me recently about a game designer who they had their prototype of the game, but it was fairly expensive to make, so they weren't making a lot of them. So what they did was they teed up all these people to playtest it, and they basically included the postage bags in the package. So they sent it to the first one, so the first playtesting group or person, but with like 10 other bags in there, so that then that pre-addressed and everything, and then that person would send it on to the next one, and so on and so forth. So they only needed to have one prototype in that sense that went around to 10 people. Obviously, you're relying on them actually doing it and passing it on and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. I wouldn't have thought to do that. So yeah.
Yeah. If you can count on timely playtesting and you can count on the fact that, okay, I'm okay to have an iteration that lasts 2 months, at the sending around a few times. But I did do that when we were at the review stage for Ragnarok, that I sent a few around with a couple of post bags and just said, let me know when you're done, and maybe I'll have someone to send it on to.
Yep.
Just for the prototype share, Jason, I know that the timing doesn't always work out right. Because you're going to do that at the end of the month, and incubators sometimes moves around. But I'm happy to have a permanent slot available for an out of town game at incubator events.
Okay. Thank you.
I just don't, I need to remember to spruik this a bit more in the incubator groups as well, so that if people have prototypes that they're ready to send around.
Yeah, what I'm really trying to establish is like it is very much a prototype share. So it is, if you're going to contribute, like if you're going to put your playtest in, you should playtest one back, and that way we kind of keep like a really high quality of designers actually playing games that can push things maybe a little bit further and are willing to kind of like double down on their feedback.
Sounds good.
But I think that would be a good thing to have at incubator as well. We just have hopefully every month we have a out of town game.
Cool.
If we can get that.
It's we've been just over an hour now, or roughly. So maybe we'll wrap this up. Does everyone want to we'll go through and just say where people can find us, get in touch with us if they need to? Wes, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so Raise is my company name, R-A-E-Z. RaiserNet is usually what everything's linked to for me. So Facebook/RaiserNet, Twitter/RaiserNet, Instagram/RaiserNet. That's probably the best place to find me when I'm working at the moment.
Awesome, thanks. Aaron?
I'm at Aaron Lime everywhere on Twitter and Instagram. On Board Game Geek, I'm just at Aaron. It's spelled EHRON, and the lime is like a lime. And you can also find us on the actionpointspodcast.com. That's where you find the action points, which is more like general nerdy stuff, and Victory Pointers, which is the board game design one.
Kim?
You can get me at goodgamespublishing.com or Secret Base Games on Twitter and Facebook.
Jason?
I am Endgame Games on the Twitter and the Facebook and the Instagram. And Kotza Yang on Board Game Geek if you're still on that weird site. Has anyone seen the redesign? I haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, it's alright. I don't mind it.
Okay.
Better than the old one.
But they've only released like some pages, not like the guts of it. So yeah. Anyway,
Aaron, better than a
Alan,
rusty shiv. Let's go.
whoever you are at the end, Alan, how do we contact you if we want to?
You can contact us at ruleandmake.com. That's the website. These are all words that I just sort of mentioned. RULEANDMAKE, and that's the same for Twitter and Facebook.
Nice. You can get in touch with me at Cylon, SYELON.com, and that's got links to everything for me. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, guys. And hopefully we can make this a semi-regular/regular catch-up opportunity for those that are interested. Anyway, great talking to you. Nice talking to you people who are interstate and I don't normally get to chat to, so especially Wes, who I guess I've spoken to the least out of everyone here just because of the distance. So yeah, it was nice to hear from you.
Cool.
So,
Cool,
okay.
see you guys.
Yeah, cool. And I presume that Aaron will press stop at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Awesome.
At some point.
Yeah, just wave our hands until something happens. Cool.